Hola y bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente es el mejor cerveza. No abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito Santiaguito, not with us today. We got the porn music in the background. It's actually happening. I hit one button and here it goes. Will the Thrill not with us today. And maybe I'm the only one hearing or listening to the music, but man, what a jam. Regardless, we come on here each and every single morning, and well, I guess we come on here. And we properly salute our boys and each and every one of you. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Remember this, folks, when we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we're fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you on the 30th day of November, 2024. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. It was Black Friday yesterday. So let's get on into the Daily Hustle email that I sent out this morning. And wait a second for this to go ahead and load in the mail. And I say go ahead and load, but my goodness. Isn't it funny how you got one device and then you got the other device and you got the other. I have three devices sitting right here. I mean, remember when we lived our life with no devices? Zero. I mean, an occasional television and that was it. And now I got a screen in front of my fucking face just about at all times. I don't think it's good, but it's the way we currently live our lives. It's how we get our work done. I do think there's some modern conveniences, certainly, with the cell phone. And sure, there was a time when I was a kid and I'd spend hours playing Tecmo Bowl. So video game elements, I think they've always been there. They're certainly as extreme as they've ever been right now. But regardless, I don't know. Who gives a shit? Here we go. Daily Hustle for today. Buenos dias. Today is Saturday, November 30th, 2024. We try not to bombard you guys with too much by pushing footboards, books, flippies, and coffee mugs. But with all the bullshit bought on yesterday's gluttonous pseudo Black Friday holiday, I figured today would be a good day for it. There are very few things in this world that will bring more value to our lives than a foot torture health device, 3 future New York Times bestsellers, a smiling stick figure double bird necklace, and a coffee mug reminding us that we are going to hustle every fucking day. Click link below to take advantage of our sale. Then pick up any and all items for you and your 10 best friends at ericbyrnes.com. So here it is. You got the F It list. You have the Daily Hustle 222 Unfiltered Life Guidance from a Human Crash Test Dummy. And then, of course, the Let Them Play Parenting and Coaching Guide to Use Sportsbook. You can also pick up a foot reflexology board. And I am wearing the Flippy today. The one that we actually sell, not the iced out one. And here it is. Very subtle. So if you get a chance to support the cause, we would greatly appreciate it. Cool items too. And I certainly like to think between the footboard and these three bad boys, they will bring value to your life. No one else will bring value to your life. Bet Online, the number one online gambling destination. That is if you bet responsibly and you basically look at it as a game. If you think you're going to get over on the system, you probably better think again unless you're using all sorts of algorithms and doing this professionally. But if you want to set aside a few bucks to go ahead and have fun, go to Bet Online, the number one online gambling destination for all the latest news, scores, odds, and predictions. Go to Bet Online. The game starts here. Okay, back to the email. Daily Hustle quote of the day. Risk is essential. There is no growth or inspiration in staying within what is safe and comfortable. Daily Hustle translation. No matter what it is that we are doing in our lives, there's very little to zero growth unless we are willing to take risks and step way outside our comfort zone. That said, it is important that we understand what we are really risking. Failure. Yup, the main risk in maiden voyages certainly is failure. And whatever negative connotations we and the outside world want to put on that perceived failure. Good news, though. In any new endeavor, failure in some capacity is not only an option, but it's a damn near guarantee. So, on that note, who gives a fuck? Whether it was playing Major League Baseball, doing Ironman triathlons, running 100 miles, writing a book, starting a business, chasing a world record, coaching kids, managing the Savannah Bananas, or entering my first pickleball tournament. I have failed fast, I have failed often, and I have failed gloriously. Yet it has been my ability to learn from those failures, which has inevitably allowed me to make the proper adjustments and continue to charge forward, kicking ass one day at a time. EB. P.S. Click pick for IG post and blue link for today's live interactive Daily Hustle podcast on No Filter Network, or catch later in the day on Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you may choose to consume this podcasting glory. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify, thank you guys. Your ratings and reviews definitely mean a ton to us and the podcast and the future of the podcast. So if you guys would like to see this thing continue to roll, whether it's the Deuce is Wild that you're listening on that podcast channel or the Daily Hustle, please write a review, feeling generous, hand out the 5 stars. It really, really helps. Okay, the show today, we're going to start with trivia. We used to do this with Kowalski back in the day. And it was one of those things, I'm not sure if he loved the trivia more or the dad jokes. But let's bring back the trivia because I saw this on Instagram this morning. It was on Doyle Media's account. This guy does a terrific job. It was 7 MLB team names that are jobs. Speaking of jobs, 7 MLB team names that are jobs. So for the sake of the show, I don't know, say slowly go through these. But I ran through, and the way I did it, basically, you sort of start in the West, and then you work your way east. There certainly can be some debate on what is an actual job. For example, my wife tried to claim that the Dodgers were a job, and I'm like, it's not a job. They're trolley dodgers. Like, they're not getting paid to dodge trolleys. They're just dodging trolleys. The other one that certainly provided some controversy in my household were the Angels. Is being an Angel a job? Well, if you watched Angels in the outfield, you could make a case that, yeah, certainly an Angel is a job. My mom would tell you, huge believer in the guardian angels, and I agree with her, that it could be a job. But is that a job, or is being an angel a birthright? Just some things for us to think about on this beautiful Saturday morning. Okay, let's go with the obvious ones. You ready? And hopefully I've given you guys some time at home to sit down, write them out, think them out, whatever. Number 1, the Mariners. Without a shadow of a doubt, as Will Clark likes to say, certainly a job. Number 2, the Rangers. Texas Rangers, certainly a job. Number 3, the Padres. Yes, This is not a birthright. This is something that you get into, and definitely a job. Number 4, the Guardians. Yes, the Cleveland Guardians. I don't know exactly what they were guarding. I'm going to imagine the city of Cleveland, but it definitely is a job as well. Number 5, the Astros. Now, and that's why I put this beautiful sweater out here. I mean, first of all, can we just celebrate this thing for a second? I am not a huge Houston fan. Like in general, I'm just not. I have an obsession with the Oilers and the Astros. There has never been a better color combo than the 1980s get-ups of the Oilers and the Houston Astros. I mean, what other city could compete with this? Fucking nobody. That's it. That's why I have a lot of Oilers gear, as you can see right here. I'm actually a Bills and a Niners fan, which we could bring up the whole debate because tomorrow is a gigantic game for the San Francisco 49ers in Buffalo. The who are you rooting for thing. I would have told you, and this is true. If the Niners and Bills are playing each other in the Super Bowl, I'm going to root for the Bills. It's just I have to. To get that first one would mean everything to that fan base. Now, as far as tomorrow night is concerned, it's a sort of a can't lose situation. And I just say that because if the Bills win, yeah, they're continuing to do what they've been doing this season. They're one of the very best teams, if not the best team in all of football. But the San Francisco 49ers are fighting for their playoff lives. So I know this sounds really weird, but I'm kind of just going to watch the game. And I'm going to take it in. And I'm going to analyze, and I'm going to root for players, and I'm going to root for plays. This is a tough one for me. And they've played each other a few other times, but nothing like this. This is going to be a tough one. Because San Francisco's season is literally hanging in the balance of what happens in Buffalo tomorrow. Now, they still could pull it out with some help to get to the playoffs, but this team is in a dire situation and must win time. Okay, so I went with the Astros. Now, we're assuming Astros are astronauts, right? That's, unless something's different, that's the case. Then we have the Pirates. Being a Pirate, certainly a job. And, of course, last but not least, the Milwaukee Brewers. So there are your 7 team names that are jobs. Mariners, Rangers, Padres, Guardians, Astros, Pirates, and Brewers. All right, top sports stories for today. Number 7, Georgia needs 8 overtimes to beat Georgia Tech 44-42. That's the craziest college football game I've ever fucking seen. It really is. I could go back and I'm sure we could pull out some other games, but I've never seen an overtime happen like that before. Now, apparently Penn State had a 9 overtime game in 2021. I don't know how I missed it. I'm like, that didn't make sense. But you had the option, I guess, at that point to go for 1 or 2, I believe. You score the touchdown, you go for 1, you go for 2, whatever. Now, I don't know if that would have been harder to get to 9 overtimes that way or the new college football playoff rule, which happened last night. And basically, that was first possession, you score the touchdown, you kick the extra point. Second possession, you score the touchdown, you have to go for 2. Third overtime, you just go for 2. And that's it. So it's go for 2, you get it, you don't. The other team gets their shot, they get it, they don't, game over. Well, this happened, and it went from the third overtime to the fourth overtime to the fifth overtime to the sixth overtime to the seventh overtime to the eighth overtime, where they were exchanging 2-point conversions. They were exchanging 2-point conversion misses. It was one of the coolest things I've seen in a very, very long time. At the end of the game, you saw Georgia coach Kirby Smart and Georgia Tech's coach embrace. And you could see the emotion on both of these guys' faces. Now, Kirby Smart was whispering something into Georgia Tech's guy's ear, and I don't know exactly what was said, but imagine like this is a prize fighter or two prize fighters that had just gone 15 fucking rounds. And then they made them fight extra rounds. They made them fight a 16th and a 17th and an 18th and a 19th and a 20th. And neither one of them had anything left. That said, what a rush. What an awesome thing for college football. The NFL needs to wake the fuck up and completely get rid of their overtime system. What we got to witness last night was so fun. You start with the ball at the 25. You go in. You do what you can. You try to score a touchdown. If you do, you do. You don't, you kick the field, whatever. But I truly felt that you got the best team that won that game last night. And they weren't a lot better, but Georgia's a little bit better than Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is good. They are really, really good. But I love the action that takes place at the end of the games in these overtimes. You just can't replicate it. I mean, I can tell you, maybe I wish all football games were just that, just possessions that started about the 25-yard line, and here we go, and it's more scoring. Yeah, of course, certainly is not great for the under bettors. So anyhow, what an amazing game last night that was. All right, the other big game yesterday, and holy shit, man, Colorado. They looked really, really, really good. And Travis Hunter says here, according to Deion Sanders, that he, quote, clinched the Heisman Trophy. But it says, what's next for Colorado? Colorado football coach Deion Sanders got just about everything he wanted from his team Friday in their regular season game at home against Oklahoma State after beating the Cowboys. Ready for this? 52-0. The Buffaloes are now 9-3. They finished the regular season in first place in the Big 12 Conference with a 7-2 league record. He said his two-way star player, Travis Hunter, quote, clinched the Heisman with his performance. He had 3 touchdowns and interceptions, 10 catches for 116 yards, 2 pass breakups, and a tackle. 3 players from Colorado even played on both sides of the ball. Not only was Hunter, lineman Tyler Brown, and cornerback receiver Isaac Hargis. How many times have you seen that in college football? Sanders asked. He called it a phenomenal finish. But now what? So the question is Colorado going to be able to get into the dance of the final 12 teams? Let's see here. Nobody knows until Saturday when 3 other first-place teams in the Big 12 finish their regular season. BYU at home against Houston. Arizona State at Arizona, and Iowa State at home against Kansas State. The Buffs entered the weekend tied for first place with those 3 teams, each with a 6-2 league record. Now they need 2 of them to lose in order to play for the Big 12 championship December 7th, or they need a BYU loss combined with a win by Texas Tech against West Virginia to win a tiebreaker. Interesting. Okay. I'm not one to go home and watch TV and wish somebody loses. Sanders said, I don't get down like that. I love this guy. I don't know what I'm going to do today. I may go to Vail or Breckenridge and get on a snowmobile or whatever. I don't know what I'm going to do. there's a lot of time on my hands. If the right teams don't lose Saturday, Colorado loses out on other league tiebreaker scenarios and will not play for the Big 12 championship next week in Arlington, Texas. The Buffs' next game instead likely would be the Alamo Bowl December 28th or the Holiday Bowl December 27th. If they do play for the Big 12 title, there's also a chance the Buffs could get a berth in the 12-team college football playoff as the Big 12 champ. So that's what they're going to have to do to get into that playoff with 3 losses for sure. Quote, our kids are going to play in our bowl game. No matter where they end up, Sanders vowed that Hunter and his quarterback son, Shedeur, would play in the bowl game and not opt out to avoid risking any injury that could harm their NFL draft stock. Our kids are going to play in the bowl game because that's what we signed up to do, and we're going to finish, Deion Sanders said in his postgame news conference. We're not going to tap out because that throws off the structure of next season. There's a couple, you take note, that lay an egg in a bowl game and they haven't recovered since. We don't plan on doing that. I love it. Absolutely fucking love it. You're right, Deion. Make them play. Shedeur completed 34 41 passes on Friday, 438 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's got to be up there for the Heisman. He said he already talked to his father and coach about playing in a bowl game. We got to lead by example, Shedeur said. We can't want them to go out there and play hard and we're sitting back chilling. That's something Dad talked to us about. And I was like, okay, it don't really make a difference to me because I play almost every game of the season. I mean, I think the biggest thing in that, you let them play. I mean, right? Like, you want to play for a guy like Shedeur, it certainly could improve his draft stock. He's going to be one of the number 1 top quarterbacks taken. So it says here the final home game for Sanders family, father, sons. Friday's game still was a final home game for Sanders' father and sons at Folsom Field in Boulder, where 51,000 came to watch, in addition to another national television audience on ABC. Shedeur and his older brother, Shiloh, a safety for Colorado, are in their final year of college eligibility after transferring from Jackson State last year. As the final seconds ticked off, Sanders said he thought to himself, dang, this is it. This is it. Like, do you know how long this journey has been with my kids? His coaching of them goes back to high school and beyond. Shedeur will continue to play in the NFL next year. Shiloh hopes to do so too. Deion's oldest son, Deion Jr., operates a YouTube channel that chronicles his father's program at Colorado and might stay unless he moves to chronicle his brothers. Everything in life that's good always comes to an end, Shedeur said afterwards. It's why you got to value the people you're with all the time because you don't know when it's going to end. I valued everything. I'm thankful for everything that happened. So anyway, you got to give a lot of credit to Deion Sanders and what he has done at Colorado. I mean, everyone thought it was a flash in the pan last year. He got ridiculed after starting off hot. I think they were 3-0, and then they lost it as 8 games or whatever it was. But it just amazing. The guy's obviously a great football coach, hires good coaches, knows how to recruit, knows how to put his kids in position to succeed. So super cool. All right, closer to home here. Stanford had a tough loss to San Jose State yesterday. Lost by 3 and did not cover the 2.5-point spread. They were plus 2.5. But good news. They are bringing in ex-star quarterback Andrew Luck as their new GM. Former Stanford star quarterback Andrew Luck is returning to the Cardinal to become the football program's general manager. He told ESPN in a phone interview, Luck, 35, has accepted a newly created role at Stanford, which will place him above the entire program and is a distinct evolution from the traditional college general manager role. The hire could loom as a harbinger for structural changes in college football front offices across the sport. Luck's role involves everything Stanford football touches, football-wise and business-wise. The football-specific duties will include managing the coaching staff, the player personnel staff, recruiting, roster management, and the student athlete experience. His business duties will include some aspects often associated with an NFL team president role, fundraising, sponsorships, attendance, sales, in-stadium experience, and alumni relations. I'm excited, Luck told ESPN. I think Stanford is taking an assertive and innovative step. We're undoubtedly the best athletic department in college sports. We have to reprove it in football, and we're excited to be part of the challenge. So I think this is the way of the future for not only Stanford, but for every other college. You got to have a general manager in place. You know, so much is asked of these coaches who basically sort of have acted like the general managers in the past, but I'll just take UCLA baseball as an example. Look, John Savage is busy coaching the boys, right? So if he's out there and he's coaching the boys and he's doing what he's doing and he's worried about putting the best product on the field, he doesn't have fucking time for all the other bullshit. He just doesn't. We're asking way too much of him. So you bring in a general manager to deal with it, to work hand in hand with the head coach to alleviate a lot of the pains and duties that he had before, that they had before. I truly feel like this is going to be something that you're going to see at every college with every major sport. Now, do I think it's going to be baseball and stuff? Probably not. I think you'll start with football, you'll start basketball. But that's where you're going to see the GMs. I just saw it the other day with the guy from ESPN. He went over and he's, I think it was at St. Bonaventure or something, but he became the GM of the basketball team. So it's making a lot of sense just to run a program more efficiently and effectively, especially in the day and age of NIL. Okay, moving on here. The top games for week 14, the top 10 college football games, they have them all here. These are ones that are going off today. Cal at number 9, SMU. Cal is 6-5, SMU 10-1. Not necessarily a rivalry game, but they're going up against each other. I mean, I question how many times have they ever played before? SMU has already clinched a spot in the ACC championship game, but the Mustangs still need a win to keep their at-large playoff hopes alive, hovering just above Clemson. In the throng of 3 lost SEC teams in the latest rankings, a victory would also complete an undefeated inaugural season in ACC play. An impressive feat considering how Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF have done since making a similar jump from the ACC to a power conference level. It would also match last season's total of 11 wins, with a chance for a head coach Rhett Lashley to then tie SMU's all-time single season mark of 12 victories, which goes all the way back to 1935. And with that, by the way, hold on a second. That's my daughter driving. And she just dropped something off. I think she's doing a driving school thing. Very interesting. Huh. She's right out there. Yeah. Just pulled it up in a random car. And she has a random lady with her. And off she goes. Yeah, she turns 16 in 16, 17 days here, December 16th. SMU minus 13.5 today. That game goes off at, so let's see here, 3:30 p.m. I think these are Eastern times, not quite sure. Okay, Auburn at number 13, Alabama. Auburn's 5-6, Alabama 8-3. Not dead yet. Alabama, despite suffering his third loss, is still on the bubble. If the selection committee does end up looking for an excuse to keep the Tide in the field, it will require them getting a win in the Iron Bowl on Saturday. Coming off their most lopsided regular season loss in 2 decades, Bama faithfuls are still reeling after the stunning 24-3 loss to Oklahoma. And regardless of whether their CFP hopes are completely sunk, first-year head coach Kalen DeBoer is desperate to avoid losing to a middling but dangerous Auburn team that just knocked off Texas A&M in quadruple overtime. Number 8, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's been good. this could be a playoff elimination game for the Vols. Tennessee has no chance of reaching the SEC championship game, and a loss would likely drop the program out of the 12-team field. Certainly would. Number 16, Arizona State at Arizona. Brent Brennan led Arizona. By the way, Scotty Brennan ended up playing St. Francis Lancers, Los Gatos High School, against St. Francis. I was watching some of that game. Both quarterbacks look good. Scotty Brennan is Brent's son. Brent's the head coach of Arizona. Grew up with Brent, grew up with Brad, grew up with Brady. But Scotty played St. Francis last night. I think they ended up losing, but he looked good in the loss. So that was cool to see. It'll be fun to see this kid play in college somewhere. He's a really good hoopster. So I don't know if he's going to play basketball or football or what, and if he's going to stay at quarterback or he becomes a receiver. Nonetheless, just a really good athlete. This game, it's always heated, and it'll be good. The first Territorial Cup rivalry of the Big 12 era has more than bragging rights at stake. No team in the Big 12 controls its own destiny, but a win by Arizona State puts it in a very good position to lock up a spot in next week's conference championship. With a playoff berth likely up for grabs, there is only a single multi-part tiebreaker scenario that would keep the Sun Devils out of the conference title game, with a victory against their in-state rivals. Getting to the championship would punctuate quite a turnaround season for ASU and second-year coach Kenny Dillingham. After the program went 3-9 in 2023 and was picked in the Big 12's, was picked last in the Big 12's preseason media poll. How about that shit? Arizona State -9. Don't sleep on Arizona, though, folks. Remember, Arizona went into this season expecting to contend for that Big 12 title. Number 6, Miami at Syracuse. 3:30 p.m. as well on ESPN. The selection committee has shown it's willing to forgive one loss as far as the rankings are concerned. The Hurricanes have benefited from being on the right side of all but one of their close calls. Miami moved up 2 spots in this week's rankings, less because of the blowout of Wake Forest and more because of the carnage elsewhere. The Canes still need to win against Syracuse, the quietest 8-win team in the country. Look out for Syracuse. Miami laying 10.5. I like Syracuse in this one. At least get the points, not necessarily to win the game. Should be tight, though. Number 24, Kansas State at number 18, Iowa State. The rivalry at Farmageddon, they call it. It's one of the oldest in college football, and they've played it every year since 1917. 107 straight seasons. It's Iowa State -2.5. I don't see either one of these teams getting to the playoffs. Let's see. Yeah, they're trying to get in the Big 12 championship. I guess Iowa State is. Well, we'll see. 3:30 p.m. as well. Why are they all at the same time? I mean, can we stagger them out, please? Number 5, Notre Dame at USC. This should be a good one. Notre Dame's looked as good as anybody in college football. They're -7.5 against the Trojans team that, they beat UCLA last week. Notre Dame should fucking roll. It's -7.5, but this thing could be 2 touchdowns. Notre Dame, even with the loss at 10-1, still would have a good shot of getting into the college football playoff with the top 12 teams. Michigan 6-5 at Ohio State, 10-1. Practically speaking, Ohio State needs to win to secure its spot in the Big Ten title game against Oregon, but the game obviously goes much deeper than that. The Buckeyes are on a mission to exercise a number of demons, chief among them beating Michigan for the first time in 4 years. Michigan tried to spoil it, obviously. Number 2. This basically bring up the rivalries and top games, whatever. South Carolina at Clemson. There are a few layers to they call it the Palmetto Bowl. Okay. It's an evenly matched rivalry game between the top 15 teams. Clemson is still alive in the ACC championship hunt, needing a loss by Miami, but there's also a burgeoning subplot of whether the winner of this game has a chance to slither into an at-large playoff spot. Yeah. South Carolina wins. I don't know. Clemson wins. They certainly would have a chance. South Carolina 8-3. I mean, you're not getting in. No fucking chance. No way. And then lastly here, the big rivalry in the great state of Texas. Number 3, Texas, 10-1 at number 20, Texas A&M, who is 8-3. This is going to be a good one. It is the Longhorns minus 5.5. It says, I suppose conference realignment isn't all bad. It revived this game after a 12-season hiatus. Yeah, what the fuck, man? Why would they have not played this game even if they were in different conferences every single year? Bringing back a bitter in-state rivalry with decades of backstory and ill will. And while the game is no longer on Thanksgiving Day, it sets up about as well as the SEC and college football fans could wish for, with a top 20 showdown to determine who will play Georgia in the SEC championship game. For A&M, a win keeps its playoff hopes alive and sends the Aggies to the first conference title game since winning the Big 12 in 1998. For Texas, a playoff spot is all but guaranteed, but it's a chance to go into College Station and end A&M's season on a bitter note, with a chance for the Longhorns to establish themselves as SEC champs in their inaugural season. That's impressive. To go in the first year in the SEC and win that conference would be incredibly impressive. I've been to College Station. It's super fucking cool. That stadium, I don't know what the number is, but it's like 100,000, right? It is absolutely wild. So expect that place to go off. All right, a couple more things here. Want to tip the cap to Brandon Crawford, who was a UCLA Bruin, my brother, and then went on to have an amazing career with the San Francisco Giants. He was at the center of damn near everything during those championship runs. Not the most vocal guy, but he went out on the field. He led by example. He played with passion. He played with energy. He had an effort about him and a consistency about him at shortstop that we have rarely seen. In my opinion, this is a Giants Hall of Famer, not a Hall of Famer, but this is a guy that should be inducted into the Wall of Fame there in San Francisco. Just an instrumental part of what went on. When I look back upon those early 2010 teams, I would certainly going to think of Buster Posey. I'm going to think of Madison Bumgarner, and then I'm going to think of Brandon Crawford. 1, 2, and 3, just like that, and probably in that order too. So, fantastic career by Crawford. He played 14 years. Holy shit, 13 for his hometown San Francisco Giants. One of the coolest things with him too is, he's got a brick there. And I don't know, the family donated a certain amount of money or they bought a brick and it's at the new stadium. But he's got a picture, and I think with Will Clark when he was a kid. That's so cool to watch that and see that and have it come to fruition. So Brandon Crawford, congratulations on a fantastic career. Crawford, who's 37, he enjoyed his finest season in 2021. This is kind of crazy. When he finished 4th in the National League MVP. Wow. I didn't even realize that. He had 298, 373 on base with a 522 slugging percentage. He had a career high 24 homers and 90 RBIs. And that was that 107-win Giant team. He became a free agent for the first time in his career after his 2-year, $32 million contract extension with the Giants expired, and he ended up with St. Louis, where he batted 169 over 28 games before being released. Crawford finished, he's a 249 career lifetime hitter, 147 home runs, 1,404 hits, while accounting for a 29.3 B WAR over his 14 big league seasons. That's an awesome, awesome, awesome career. The Giants plan to honor Crawford on April 26 when the club is fittingly scheduled to face Bruce Bochy's Rangers at Oracle Park. So career well done, Brandon Crawford. All right, moving on. This one's really interesting. I'll say really interesting, but we went over the whole Blake Snell thing, right? And look, I get it. Everyone is just up in arms about Snell and signing with the Dodgers, but I tried to fucking tell you guys. I had a conversation with him, and he's like, Byrnesy, the number one most important thing to me is winning. Now, I take that considering money and years and everything else is pretty equal. Yes, then winning becomes a huge priority. Well, if you're going to win or you want to win, where else are you going to fucking go but Los Angeles if you have an opportunity to go there? Where else are you going to go than to be a Dodger? It wouldn't make any sense. So if he signed anywhere else and he had an opportunity to sign with the Dodgers and he's sitting there going to look me in the eye and go, Byrnesy, winning matters. I want to win. I want to pitch in the postseason. I want a ring. When you're obsessed like that, like Blake Snell is, you're going to sign with the fucking Dodgers. I even told him it right there. I said, bro, there's only one place to go for that. And maybe two. Maybe you could go to the Yankees. But the one that is basically going to guarantee that you're going to play in the postseason for the entire length of your contract is the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that's it. So Snell, sure enough, gets a 5-year deal, signs with the Dodgers. Bam, done. This team now has 7 plus $100 million contracts on the table. 7. Think about that. Crazy. But a lot of these contracts are deferred, including Shohei Ohtani's, which is going to be getting paid for the next 100 years, or at least it seems like that. They are doing everything they can to put themselves in a position where now there's other guys, including Juan Soto and including Sasaki, who are coming over potentially to play for Los Angeles. Well, like the rich get richer, yes, of course. But this even goes beyond because the more guys you sign like Snell, the better chance you have of bringing in guys like Soto. Now, these are the top of the top, the upper echelon, right? These are the ones that are it, the creme de la creme. At some point, and this is what I would be confident about if I'm another big league team, but at some point, you just run out of spots. There's not enough positions to go around for all of these superstar players. And I'm going to give you guys an example. So I coach this California All-State team. And I had second pick of my guys. And I said, go ahead. Take everybody you want. Think about this. Take everybody you want in the state of California and put together your 17-kid team. And then after that, I'll take, quote unquote, the leftovers. And I'll put together another 17 kids. Now, the good news is that the one thing the great state of California has is depth. And so I knew that even if I put together this quote unquote B team for the state of California, we were going to be at least just as good as the other team. I knew it. And sure enough, if you go by how we did in the tournament, getting to the championship, we were better. Now, again, I think if we played that other California team 50 times, we'd probably go 50-50 against them because they were legit as well. But this is a case where in Major League Baseball, I think, breathe easy for a second, folks, because there are enough good players to go around. The question is going to be, who's able to consolidate them as well as the Dodgers have consolidated them, if that makes sense. So, you have the guy coming over now. I said Sasaki earlier. I don't want to screw this up. But if he ends up signing, I mean, this is a generational pitcher, 23 years old too. It's not going to cost him shit. If he ends up signing with the Dodgers as well, it's just depth, right? And think about where they were, and they won the World Series with no pitching. They had no starting pitching at the end. I mean, they're running Jack Flaherty out there. He's nice. He's fine. It's like average major league pitcher at this point. He's been really good at times, but then they're pieced together the bullpen. It's like you look at the guys that they have and the depth that they have. So they're going to stockpile arms. They're going to do what they do. This team's not going anywhere but the playoffs. Is it going to guarantee them a world championship every single season? No fucking chance. No way. No way. Will they win multiple World Series over the next 10 seasons? Yes. I don't think they're going to win every year, but they're going to win. The Yankees, I think their record was 5 in a row. So the Dodgers would have to win the next 5 to break that record, considering they won this year. But one of the guys, and this is what I love about LA, one of the guys that was so instrumental in the postseason was Tommy Edman. And they just signed Edman to a 5-year contract. So they understand not only do we need these superstars in here, the Blake Snells and the Shohei Ohtanis and the Mookie Bettses, but we need the role players that are going to be multidimensional, be able to play different positions, be able to play and hit in different spots in the order. Speed matters, which Edman has. This is a team player, smart guy, Stanford guy. So great sign by LA. Really, really, really good sign. Okay. Lastly here, the Bills 49ers preview. Could snow bury Buffalo ahead of Sunday Night Football? After a brutal loss on Sunday, that's last Sunday, San Francisco 49ers will face another tough competition during Week 13 Sunday Night Football matchup against the Buffalo Bills as snow, freezing temperatures, and gusty winds from a potent winter storm are expected to douse western New York. The Fox Forecast Center is calling for heavy lake effect snow with multiple feet of snow possible for areas near and south of Highmark Stadium through the multi-day event lasting into next week. A lake effect snow warning for Highmark Stadium and Orchard Park through the game through latest projections as of Friday morning indicate the snow may drift south of Orchard Park during Sunday evening's game. Snow totals can vary greatly depending on where the lake effect snow bands set up. Multiple feet of snow will be possible through the weekend in the most persistent lake snows. The National Weather Service office in Buffalo said snowfall rates will average 1 to 2 inches an hour, but higher rates are still certainly possible. Forecasters warn that travel will be very difficult and at times nearly impossible due to poor visibility and deep snow cover on the roads. Yeah, snow's coming. This should be fun to watch. The latest is that they're expecting, saying I looked like 1 to 2 feet. They're asking Buffalo fans to show up with shovels. I don't know if they expect to bring their own shovels or they just want the fans to help shovel. Whatever it is, that's what I love about this place. I really do. I went to Highmark Stadium. I went a couple years ago with Giuseppe Pepe Manuele and Biscuit in a snow game against the Dolphins. One of the coolest things that I've ever seen, that I've ever been to. Just a really, really special experience. So Niners fighting for their lives. Brock Purdy will play. That's fantastic news for 49er fans. And like I said, look, you go down to my living room downstairs and den, whatever you will call it. Like it's main area, it's a fireplace, right? And above the fireplace is an American flag made up of baseballs, like literally like the stitching of the baseballs pulled out. And on the left side is my San Francisco 49er Joe Montana helmet. And on the right side is my Buffalo Bills helmet. And kind of like, Oilers or Astros, like they not only they make you feel good, but those represent a lot of my life that was spent growing up going to San Francisco 49er games and rooting for the Buffalo Bills. And a lot of people will ask me, like, how and why did I ever become a fucking Bills fan? So when we were little, we were this close to moving to Buffalo, New York. My dad had a job offer there. We were going. It was like a foregone conclusion. So when I heard this, I started paying attention to the Bills. And I'm like, that's my team. And then when they would play on TV, every time they were playing on TV, it was fucking snowing. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is really, really cool. And I thought it was right by New York City, too. I didn't know. Buffalo, New York. Like, it's all the same. It was all the same to me back then as a kid. And then they got good. They got really good. And I fell in love with the red helmets when they switched from the original white to the red. And then it was Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed and Bruce Smith and Cornelius Bennett and Steve Tasker and Don Beebe. And I just fell in love with the team. So they were my AFC team. The Niners were always my NFC team. And I got to root for them every year. Now, thankfully, I say thankfully because I would have loved seeing them both play in the Super Bowl, but it never happened. And so I never had to make that really tough decision of who was I going to root for. And then after the 4 Super Bowl losses and the fact that the Bills went 20 years without going to the fucking playoffs, it was a foregone conclusion that when they got Josh Allen, they got good again. And the Niners obviously have been good, very good recently. That if they do face off in the Super Bowl, I will be rooting for the Buffalo Bills. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is a really tough decision this Sunday because I want the Niners to fucking make the playoffs. I really want them to make a play. I really want to root for them. And I don't want to see the Bills lose, but the Bills could probably withstand a loss, especially with Miami losing. They can withstand a loss at this point. They can't. It's not going to be detrimental, but in order for the Bills to have the best chance to get the Super Bowl, they're going to want home field advantage. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to wrestle that away from Kansas City. We need Kansas City to lose again. But if Kansas City does lose again, then the Bills are in the driver's seat because of the victory just recently in Buffalo. So all that said, Bills, Niners, I'm going to sit back as a little fanboy kid and I'm going to sit back as a grown-ass man and sit back as someone that, radio / podcast, whatever personality. I'm just going to fucking enjoy it. I'm going to hope for great football. That's it. That's what I'm rooting for. So Niners, Bills, 5 o'clock tomorrow, Sunday night football, and let it snow. Let it snow. All right. I've babbled on way too long here. Everyone have a fantastic Saturday. And once again, if you could leave a review, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever, it really helps. All right. Back at you on Monday with the Daily Hustle. That's it. See ya.